again another Pokemon Creepypasta. So today we're going to be reading Glichy Red, and let's just get into it. About a month ago, I bought a second Pokemon Red cartridge off eBay so I could start a new game and screw around without messing up my save file. As soon as I compared it to my old one, I knew it was either a bootleg or produced somewhere else. You can see in the picture how the sticker doesn't fit the front of the cartridge, and the red plastic is cheap and almost see-through. If you look closely, you can see the internal battery on the second. Well, on the first one, you can't. So this picture right here to the right. When I started up, it only had one option, new game. And unlike the well-loved cartridges I've been using, it didn't have any wear marks from being inserted into the Game Boy Color or anything indicating it had been used. What the hell, I figured. I'd poured plenty of money into the franchise, and one bootleg game wasn't going to kill me. I popped it into my Game Boy Color and started playing. A couple weeks ago, I lost my Game Boy Color for a while, so I had to play it on my SP. No huge deal, though. No huge deal, I thought. When I started the game up, oddly enough, the backlit screen of my SP went out. Like I was playing on an old Game Boy Advanced or a Color. I thought it was pretty weird considering the lower setting of my SP screen was brighter than high, setting on all my friends' SPs. As I took care of it, it was unlikely that the backlight would be going anytime soon. But as soon as I switched to playing Sapphire, the screen lit back up. I played my other Red on the SP plenty, and it never dimmed for an old Game Boy game, so I just attributed it to the game itself being poorly made, which makes no fucking sense, I know. About now, you're probably wondering when I'm going to start telling you about how there were unknown in my party, and a buried alive guy in Lavender Town started eating my player character because any pre-owned bootleg game story is bound to have some creepy hacked shit. Well, it isn't that simple. I played through Lavender Town, the Pokemon Tower, all of that, and nothing unusual happened. I didn't go mad from the music and feel suicidal, and my Pokemon never turned white and started crying tears of blood or anything like that. However, as I continued playing, it became apparent to me that this game had some glitches. Just like the cheap plastic casing and sticker that barely stuck, and the game itself was flaky. I never played Pokemon on an emulator before, but if I had to guess, I would say that when it was copied, a lot of data was corrupt, and I had to be careful when playing it or it would freeze. For example, sometimes the graphics around the player, I'm going to call him Red, and as that's what I named him, a bit of a Red fanboy, would change to big colored bars and the game would stop, and the background music would stop on whatever note it had played, and play this high-pitched, staticky whine until I restart. This happened whenever I tried to get on my bike inside a cave or a building. I was almost sure that this was a normal bootleg game until I examined the SNES and then the Celadon department store. Don't judge me, but being a Red fanboy, I've always liked when the game said things from Red's point of view, like how he says, "Dad would like this," when you get to examine the SNES, or "I should get going" when you examine the TV, since you never get to see the player say anything, to the point to where, as a joke, the developers made Red say nothing more than ellipses when you encounter him in GSC. Anyways, when I examined the SNES where Red would normally say, "Dad would like this," instead I saw the text, "Where's Dad?" I examined it again, and the same thing. I kind of laughed it off, thinking for some reason it was a poor translation. Don't ask how I thought that made any sense. In the back of my mind, I was kind of hoping for a hack game because, hey, if I got some screen caps and posted them on 4chan, I'd be able to at least kill an afternoon laughing about it. I went to the next floor, then went back down to check on the NES again, and to my surprise, the message had now changed, and Red said, "Who created me?" At this point, I was pretty sure this had been added in by some hacker, and I thought it was kind of awesome. Hell, Red finding out who he was just a video game character? That's pretty funny. After that, and after failing to find any other added dialogue, I continued on to the game's story. At that point, I was near to the part where you surfed a cinnabar to Seafoam Islands. But the glitching was getting worse. Sometimes the map would get distorted like Glitch City, and Red would be surfing on a tree or a house or some shit, and I couldn't move. I had to fly out and try again. As a kid, I always liked doing Missing No in Glitch City, and I had a Game Shark back in the day, so the glitches were kind of cool. But eventually, I made it to Cinnabar. Now, being an avid glitcher way back when, of course the first thing I did was fly back to Viridian to do the old man trick. But no matter how many times I tried, I could never get Missing No to appear. I thought maybe the ROM had been edited to prevent glitching, but that clearly wasn't the case, as this thing had more bugs than fucking Viridian Forest. Instead, when I entered the Pokemon Mansion, I was greeted by the following text window. Nice try, Red. It was obvious that where Red would be the name of whatever you named your player. What freaked me was Red was in all caps as the speaker. At this point, I know I've had to have an edited game. The fucking player character was telling me nice try after I failed to do a missing no. The game froze, then I restarted, and I hadn't saved before trying the missing no glitch, but when I turned the game back on, I was back in the mansion exactly where the window had popped up. I could move again, so I went ahead and played through the mansion. Called me a pussy, but despite my excitement, I was scared. So I played silly with all the lights on, and I was still playing on my SP, and all the internal lights still didn't work, so I used that to justification for my being a massive pussy. Things only got weirder. After I left the mansion, I got a message. Ding dong! Time's up. Your Safari game's over. Having done the glitch sitting in the past, I knew this would happen whenever you flew out of Safari Zone. As I expected, I was outside the Safari Zone gate, and the next time I hit A, with the attendants asking me if I got a good haul. I had an immense feeling of foreboding when went to leave the gate. Scared I'd be in Glitch City or even worse, I had a flyer. But you have to understand that this is a little unnerving. Instead, I was in Palatown, but there was no music, nothing, and another text window appeared. This isn't where I'm from. I've been lied to. I couldn't move my player after that, so I went to reset, but something stopped me. Instead, I opened my start menu and went to fly the fuck out of there, but to my horror, the Pidgeot I used for fly wasn't there. Just my Blastoise, Exeggutor, Kadabra, Mew from the Nugget Bridge glitch, and Kangaskhan. In Pidgeot's place was a level 16 Raticate with 1 HP. It was poisoned, and I checked its stats, and it had the OT Blue and new Hyper Beam, Quick Attack, Glare, and Skull Bash. I don't even know if Raticate can learn all these moves. I've since heard that Gary's Raticate died, seriously, in the game, but I named Gary Douche in this game for a few laughs. I guess the OT name Blue came from the fact that Blue is the opposite to the red version, like maybe it was supposed to have come from a blue cartridge. I know Rattata doesn't evolve until level 20, so this was a pretty obvious hack. I had some antidotes and poisons and potions in my bag, so I figured what the hell I'd heal it. But when I left the Pokemon menu and entered the entire start menu closed, and I couldn't open it again. I tried walking, but this time I was able to move, and I took a few steps forgetting about the poison until the box popped up again. We killed it. At this point, I was getting a little freaked out. No fucking shit. I went to my party and Raticate wasn't there at all, and neither was my Pidgeot. The slot was empty. I closed the menu and tried to move again, but nothing. I wanted to turn the game off in case it somehow had saved again, so I kept trying to move before remembering that my Kadabra knew teleport. When I hit start, nothing happened. I kept trying to move, but I couldn't move. No, Red wasn't letting me move. This happened to me. Why? At this point, I just shut the game off. I took the hack Red version out and put in a Fire Red, like with my old game, I'd named the player Red, and for some reason it still kind of scared me. I started up, and to my horror, the screen was still dimmed. I hit continue on the main menu, but when I tried to open my game, I got the message saying that my save data had been lost or corrupt. And when I started, the game froze with the music being just a staticky whine. At this point, I was really desperate to play some fucking Pokemon where no weird shit was going on, and I was pissed that my Fire Red version was broken, so I threw in Sapphire and started up. The screen lit up normally, and I thought for a moment that maybe something was just wrong with the SP that broke my Fire Red, and fuck. I didn't want that happening to my Sapphire with the Jirachi from Coliseum and the Feebas taking me an hour to find, so I shut it off and pulled it out. I started playing what I call Glichy Red version again about a week ago. When I started back up, I was still in Palatana and there was music and things seemed normal, except for the empty slot in my party and my SP screen no longer lighting up. I biked to Viridian and found a Pidgeot safely in my PC, so I figured what the hell, and took it out and flew to Cinnabar to fight Blaine. When I went to unlock the gym, surprise, another text box. No. No matter how many times I tried, the game refused to believe I had the fucking secret key despite it being right there in my bag, but Red wasn't letting me in. Everything happened because the world let it happen to me. I didn't become a hero on my own. I was manipulated. I never unlocked that door, and that door was unlocked because the game let me in. Everything you do because the game lets you. Because of how the text boxes were, it took a really long time to scroll through, and the whole time I was writing down what he was saying, so I had it on reference. Things were getting a little too Silent Hill for me, and once again I tried to move, but Red wouldn't let me. I'm going to show you how it feels to be unable to choose your own fate. I gave up and opened the start menu again, glad that I could, and used Pidgeot to fly out of there. I knew this was my only way because Red was letting me fly out. Um, he was toying with me. I flew to Lavender because, shockingly enough, nothing weird ever happened there. From Lavender, I walked down to try and go to Fuchsia, but as soon as I left Lavender Town, Red was at it again. No. Well, fuck, I thought. I opened the menu and flew to Fuchsia, and when I got there, I nearly shat my pants and dropped my SP. It was this glitch city where you get to surf along Cinnabar's coast. Immediately, the menu popped up the way it does when you do the Mew glitch, and it was asking me to save the game. There was no option for no, and pressing B did nothing, so I shut my game off. When I started back up, I was still in Glitch City. I checked my party the way Red wanted me to. Pidgey and Kadabra were there, but instead of teleport and fly, appearing when I selected them, there only was cursed, not curse. Like in the fucking retarded, creepy black pasta, but cursed. I was smart enough not to hit it. I hit B until I was out of the menu, and Red was telling me shit again. You're staying here with me, Red. They replaced me because I was glitched and not good enough. I thought this was my story, but I am just a character in a video game. They took everything from me. My voice, my freedom, my legacy. Replaced me with Burr, the brown-eyed kid. I understood that he meant the fire red version and the gold, silver, and crystal versions who had been demoted to final boss. He let me move, and to my surprise, the game never froze, even as I was walking on water and stepping into the houses. Eventually, I suppose I went too far because the screen turned black around my player. Am I a joke to you? A yes or no option popped up, and I can't tell you how fast I hit no. Then why do you do these things to me? Why do you corrupt my world and show me glitches that aren't even meant to be? Why do you want to hurt me with missing no? I never wanted to hurt Red. It was just for fun. The game had bugs, and we've all just exploited them for fun, right? Why did I have to die? Just because I'm a hero? I shut my game off, and that night I had a dream where I was a Pokemon trainer, the player from Fire Red, who I would never again think of as Red. I was being chased by a white pale body. While I can't feel pain in my dreams, I know some people can, the pale figure eventually caught me and ripped at my chest with the sides of his nails, and the last thing I saw before I woke up was the face of my attacker. A little boy with bright red eyes, black hair, a red and a white hat. For the next few days when I played, it was because I had to. I was trapped in the blackness because Red refused to let me go. Because he was forsaken and forgotten, just left to be abused by players who come back out of nostalgia and exploit the bugs. Because I played so much, I always had a headache from the high-pitched noises the game makes. I had to call out work sick. I could never move, but I found comfort staring at the screen with a black background, and my player, Red, didn't say anything to me. I couldn't play Fire Red again, even though I worked on my DS. Yesterday, I finally got to Mount Silver on Heart and Gold, and I couldn't bring myself to battle Red. I didn't know what he'd do to me if I be his replacement. Would he be angry? Happy? Would his defeat put his spirit at peace? I don't know. No matter how many times I tried to play through the games, Red would suffer the same fate because he is a hero and because the games only let him go so far. Red will never be able to experience the glory of being a hero, and neither will we. No matter how many times you start a new game, it will never be the same as the first time you played. And you know what's going to happen. And you play for nostalgia because it's just a game you know. A game to you now. I killed Red, and so did you. Unlike Ash Ketchum, he's never going to be a hero of another new game in a brand new region. In Heart Gold, Gold's successor Ethan had taken his accomplishments from him. Being the one to catch Pokemon Red had fought so hard for Mewtwo, Zapdos, Articuno, and Moltres. His life is over for him, and he became such a legend that there was nothing left of him to be even proud of himself. I finished Glichy Red yesterday, and when I finally checked my trainer card, there was a sprite of Red as he appeared in GSC, but in the game's same monochrome color scheme, just red and green. When I looked closer, the red pixels making up his shirt looked darker and arranged oddly, almost like if he was bleeding from the chest. None of my badges or time played or trainer ID, just the sprite. When I returned to the menu, instead of the name appearing as red, there was the word "gone" for my trainer card. I selected it, and this time the card was blank. Go ahead, forget me now. Goodbye. The game reset the way it does after you beat the champion, and this time there's only one option: new game. I found my Game Boy Color earlier today and started playing it on there for a while. When I played on my SP, the screen lit up and everything was normal. I had to start a new game on my Fire Red, but it was working again. Even the bootleg versions played normally, and no glitches. But I can never see Red's silence the same ever again, or even the hilarious missing no and glitchy city bugs. I have a much deeper respect for the silent protagonists in the game, for all we put them through. Lavender Town used to creep me out, but now I find it very peaceful, as even Red, who wanted revenge on the world that had treated him so horribly, could never mess with the resting place of the fallen Pokemon. Someday I hope to Someday I hope I stop waking up with the scratches on my torso. Big yikers, that's fucking depressing. I like how it's like actual picture, so it actually is like realistic looking. I don't know, would that be realistic looking? Anyways, that is the ending of this one. I hope you all enjoyed. If you're new to my channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button, give you a thumbs up, and hit the bell so you're notified when we videos, which is every Wednesday. I love you guys, and I'll see you guys later. Bye bye.